Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's video. Today's video will be a little bit different. No photos of mine today. Well, one kind of, but anyway. But I want to talk about looking for inspiration. And before I do that though, I want to give you a little bit of a context of why I'm feeling like I need to look for some inspiration. So right now I'm feeling the three B's that I call it. So I'm feeling a little bit burned out, a little bit bored, if I'm honest, and a whole lot of blah, just yuck. So, in my experience, when I experience those three B's in any combination, I find I'm not very creative, especially around photography. So, I'm trying to dig out of that. And what I usually do for that is look for some inspiration. I'll talk a little bit more about inspiration in a minute, the pitfalls of that, and waiting for it to happen for magic. But before I do that, I want to give a little bit of context to think of how I got here and why I'm looking a little bit forward to what's coming up ahead. So, my life has been for the past year a little bit different in that I've lost one of my teaching slots and then I picked up a sales gig at Kenmore Camera. So what that means is my schedule is classes on Monday and Wednesday, and then work at the camera store on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So my days off are Tuesday, Thursday. So with that rhythm, what I do is on a Thursday is my go out and make photo day, and then on the following Tuesday, I'll do the talking to camera piece like I'm doing right now, recording this on a Tuesday. My intent was to have this video done last week, but I wanted to think about it a little bit more and get my head around it. And as I did that, I just kind of realized that wasn't helping either. So I'm kind of doing this a little stream of consciousness right now. So, in looking for inspiration, one of the things I'll often do is turn to photography books that I have. So, what I did is I turned to my stack of street photography books and started paging through them, hoping to find some ideas, some inspiration, something to get me excited about going out and doing some photographs. And my intent was to make some photos on last Thursday. And I did go out. I went out. I wasn't really feeling it. As I mentioned, the three B's I'm dealing with. I went out, but I know that one of the things I talk about with inspiration anytime I think about it, speak about it, is this quote from Chuck Close. So here's the quote. I won't read it to you. I'll let you read through it, but the short version is highlighted there in bold. Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. If you get to work, what happens is then in the midst of the making, you'll make mistakes, you'll make revisions, you'll make changes, and that's where the inspiration comes from. It's in the act of doing. And so my hope, my thought was last week when I went out, even though I didn't feel like it, once I started walking around Bellevue and looking for some photos, I would start to find some photos. And this is the first time it's happened to me, but I pretty much struck out. I even walked around for an hour, usually if I'm even feeling it, not feeling it, I should say. Within about the first 10 to 15, 20 minutes, I'll start to get in the groove. That didn't happen at all last week. And that's kind of a first for me. So I was like, what's going on? So that's why there was no video last week. And that's why I'm recording this now. So I do want to talk about inspiration a little bit more, as well as not just inspiration, but being intentional. And as I'm looking through my stack of books, some lessons I can learn. So what I'm going to do next in this bit of video is walk through just a couple photos from each book. I don't really have the space to make photos of the books. As you can see, this room isn't very big. So I'll just hold them up and show them to you. So before I get to the books, just sharing briefly from each a little bit, I wanted to share a note about my thoughts on where to buy books from and a suggestion. Online, I buy books from bookshop.org whenever possible. A reason for that is they support local bookstores by sharing some of the revenue with a bookstore locally that you designate. So that's my preferred way of shopping online. Additionally, each of these links that I'm going to share through bookshop.org is an affiliate link for me. So if you buy anything, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Your local bookstore appreciates it, and bookshop.org appreciates it as well. There's, I think, 2 books or 3 books that are not available through bookshop.org, and I've shared a link to Barnes & Noble for that. So there you go. All right. let's get into the books and some thoughts therein. So the first couple books are by J. Maisel, Light, Gesture, Color, and it's not about the f-stop. Now, Jay is been around a long, long time. He was a commercial photographer for a number of years. If you know jazz music at all, he photographed the cover of Miles Davis' Kind of Blue. That's his photo on there. And then later in life, when he was retired from regular commercial work, he started doing more street photography, and that's what these two books are really all about. Some really good stuff in here. What I like about Jay Maisel is the lesson of he lives in New York City, and most of these photos are from New York City, a place and his neighborhood specifically, places he walked over and over and over again, much like I do in Bellevue. So it's kind of neat to be reminded that you can return to the same place and find different photos. So just a couple things here I'll share in this book. Just a winter scene, again, noticing the different environment, how that changes all the possibilities, and even just this simple graphical photo of snow on a fence. It doesn't have to be complicated. So there's that. Next in this book, it's not about the f-stop, not about settings, lenses, equipment, and stuff. A simple photo. Again, you're going to see a theme in the photos I'm sharing, and I'll get to that in a minute in the lessons learned part. But a couple pigeons on a street light or stoplight, and one highlighted in silhouette in the middle of the amber light there. So kind of simple, kind of fun, but another street photo that you'll see, again, a theme, I think, in photos I'm going to share with you. So next, one of the big ones, by the way, these books are heavy. They're big books. This is Elliott Erwitt's New York. Photos mostly from the 50s and 60s, I believe. I'm going to share one photo here, one spread of photos, and it's this spread of it's everyday life. And what I really like about this is a couple things. If you have the book in front of you, you'll notice these photos aren't tack sharp. They've got a lot of noise, film grain noise, but they're the moment. And that reminds me that my photos don't have to be technically perfect. It's the emotional content that is really, really powerful. Additionally, related to that, and I'm going to explore this theme of coming up a little bit more in some of the other photos, is what I like about these photos, and a reminder to me, is you don't have to look for super special moments. Sometimes through the lens of time, like, photos that are 50, 60, 70 years later, there's something magic about them transformed by that time travel aspect of things. So what was ordinary at the time becomes special in the future because it's very different. Next, Saul Leiter, Unseen Saul Leiter. I've got a couple other of his books on order. His stuff is a lot of fun to me. So this lady walking past a water fountain, and it looks like the water fountain makes the shape of a hat. So I think that's really cool. Again, the photo is not sharp, but the moment is pretty amazing. Some more of Saul's stuff, vignettes and scenes and colors and abstracts, and not specific. Of a type of photography I really enjoy in street photography. Next up, Ernst Haas, also from New York, in color, 1952 to 1962. Just a couple photos here I'll share, particularly the photo on the left. So one of the things I've noticed is in a lot of these books is the compositions and subject choices I'm finding I've made photos like that, and it's kind of cool to see. Like, I have a photo that looks a lot like this from downtown Bellevue. So we're not necessarily doing anything new. It doesn't mean we need to not do it, but it's also neat to see how some of the greats, if you will, of the genre we're exploring, how things we have in common with them without even realizing we're doing it. So in retrospect, in hindsight, I saw my photos similar to this before I even looked at this photo, if that makes sense. I wasn't copying. I just saw this photo and went, ooh, I have a photo like that. So that's kind of fun. Next, Gary Winogrand, color. Also a lot of city stuff, I believe, mostly New York. Here's another example of, I think, ordinary transformed by time. So in this spread, lady in the purple, smoking a cigarette, non-specific. And then we have the businessmen behind her in gray. And then on the other side, we have the TV guide. Again, this puts us in time with the soldier on the cover of National Geographic, the gentleman in his clothes, and the vendor there. So you get a sense of time in this ordinary scene, and a sense of space and time. I just think it's really fascinating what happens with a little bit of distance of time, how it transforms the ordinary into something special. I know I said that before, but that'll be a theme going on here. Next, we have Fred Herzog Modern Color. A lot of stuff from Vancouver, British Columbia. Again, graphical stuff. This stuff speaks to me. The graphic designer in me loves this kind of stuff that is, again, non-specific, but a lot of graphical elements. There's human elements present without people, which I really find fascinating. I like that kind of thing. It speaks to me. So what I'm doing here in finding inspiration is not just, ooh, I want to go make that photo, but I want to make that kind of photo, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm looking for in inspiration. And then lastly, we'll get to two of my biggest inspirations, people that I want to be them when I grow up, kind of photographers. And that's Vivian Maier first. Here's her Vivian Maier Street Photography book, edited by John Maloof. That's a whole story there, I guess. Again, street scenes from, I believe these are mostly Chicago or New York. And again, slice of time, ordinary at the moment, but transformed by distance and time to being spectacular images that are both, I think, artistic and documentary. One of the things I like about Vivian Maier's photos so much is there's this unique combination of both the documentary and the artistic in her work that I want to try and replicate. That's something that I just find super inspiring and interesting in creating, and a very, very, very big challenge. You can only do it through repetition of being out and present in doing the work. All right, lastly, is my latest book, and the biggest maybe, and the newest of the street photographers I've become aware of. His name's Alan Schaller. I will leave a link below also to his YouTube channel. He has a YouTube video about the production of this book, and it's called Metropolis. It's his street photography. He's completely black and white in his work, modern Leica digital cameras, and his work is just phenomenal to me. A scene like this, which is both specific and not. He leans into so hard the trying to get the glare off there. There we go. The dark shadows and the high contrast look. He leans also into work that is again non-specific silhouettes, very graphic, sometimes abstract, but it's just, oh my goodness, it's just so fascinating. So highly recommend this book. It is not cheap, but also not available through bookshop.org currently. There is this one I bought through Barnes & Noble, so a Christmas gift to myself. So as I mentioned at the beginning, it's not just about seeking inspiration, and this process isn't about just, ooh, now I want to go create because I saw these things. It's also, I was trying to be intentional about learning some lessons and thinking ahead to what I want to incorporate in future photos and try and get out of this funk. So a couple of things I took away from this survey of these books is that most of these photographs in these books that I feel compelled to want to look at over and over again, that I find very, very interesting, break a lot of the rules of modern street photography. A lot of them don't have specific people in them. A lot of them don't have any people in them. A lot of them are very abstract, very graphical, very texture-based. So that's one difference, and that's something I personally enjoy. So it's not giving me permission, but it's reminding me it's not okay. I don't need permission again, but encouraging me to do more of this because it's been done before, and it's something I do enjoy, so I'm going to lean into that more. The abstract, non-specific, less people-based street photography, maybe. And related to that is I noticed a lot of these photos appear to be photographed at longer focal lengths, so more at least 50, 75, even 135 millimeters or more, creating compressed scenes, more minimal scenes, again, less, and changing the distance and relationship between objects of distance by those longer focal lengths. Modern street photography rules is to photograph at 23 millimeters and include lots of environment, lots of context, lots of setting. And that's a focal length I don't really enjoy photographing at. It's a look I don't really like. I don't feel confident in photographing that way. So, again, permission, if you will, air quotes around permission, to continue to photograph the way I like to photograph. And in the end, I think that's my biggest takeaway from this survey of these books is reminding myself there's no one way to do this. There's no one way to create anything. And especially around street photography, even though there are rules and some who try to gatekeep about what street photography is, I'm going to continue making photos for myself first. Trust that there's at least a few people who might enjoy seeing the same thing. And even if there's not, I'm glad I made it for myself. So that's my biggest takeaway from all this. And I hope you find something helpful in there in the midst of whatever type of photography you like to create, that you create it in a way that you enjoy, that feeds you first, knowing that there's, in this great big world that we live in, that when you share it and put it out there, there's probably some other people who will really be glad you made that thing. So I hope that's helpful to you in considering moving forward. So as I wrap this up here in this video, I want to say thank you so much for watching this video. Thanks for your support through the past few years and all that. If you want to continue support and maybe get some inspiration of your own for your future street photographies, just reminding that I have this zine available, Revision Volume 1, which is about some street photos from downtown Bellevue from the past few years. I'll begin hopefully working on Revision Volume 2, which I'm tentatively calling Alone Together, which will be about, again, some of these themes I just talked about: isolated people, abstracts, non-specific things around street photography that I've noticed for the past few years. So anyway, thank you so much. Link for the book, the zine, will be down below. There's a digital version as well as this print edition available as well through blurb.com. Okay. I get to begin my summer break from teaching next week, which I'm looking forward to. I've got some plans to catch up on some chores and do some relaxing and rejuvenating, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope you have an opportunity to do that soon for yourself as well. So until we meet again in a future video, I hope you stay safe, stay well, and have fun creating photos. Bye for now.